Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Board Gaming Doctor. My name is Phil, and I'll be your Board Game Doctor today. In this episode, I want to talk about my thoughts on the games that were announced for nomination for the Spiel des Jahres. This is the annual gaming award given out in Germany for games that are at the family weight, and typically these games receive a lot of notoriety and are very popular after the nomination, and especially if they win. There's also the section, the category of Kennerspiel, which is slightly more advanced. It probably ranges into the medium to potentially heavyweight types of games, but usually they stay pretty light with this award, and I'll go through those as well. Unfortunately, I do not know, and I won't spend time on the Kinderspiel, the games that are meant for children. However, perhaps in the future, as my kids start to grow a little bit older, I will start to pay more attention. But first, let's talk about the Spiel des Jahres nominations, the games that are nominated for this award. So first is Captain Flip. Now, I've had the chance to try this game out because it is on Board Game Arena, and so anyone can play it for free and try it out for themselves as well. But Captain Flip is a very lightweight family type game where you draw a tile from a bag. You draw the tile and you place it face up in front of you. You have the option to either keep the tile or to flip it over and place it into a slot onto your board. It's kind of like Tetris style, where you start from the bottom. And of note, the different maps in other words, that are included with the game allow for different configurations of where you can place these tiles and where they can slot into. But you essentially you draw a tile randomly from the bag, either keep it face up or flip it and slot it into the slot that you have determined that you would like to place it. And so there's a little bit of, actually a lot of luck involved in this game. Not a lot of strategy, and it kind of is like a Tetris type of push your luck type of game if I were to describe it. It's not my favorite game. I didn't feel like there was a lot of decisions to be made in this game. The tiles themselves do have different ways of synergizing with other tiles and where they are placed as well to give you some points, but the fact that you are drawing them randomly out of a bag and potentially flipping them over for a push your luck type of effect was not very appealing to me. It is, I think, very appropriate for this award and for families to play. I think it's complex enough that it's not a children's game, but because of the synergies and playing tiles to synergize with each other. But beyond that, the individuality of some of those tiles, I think this game is very straightforward, but not very exciting to play if you enjoy heavier games. Next is In the Footsteps of Darwin. This game is also a pretty light game that I have not played. So based off of the description and what people have said about this game, not to be confused with Darwin's Journey, which I think came out around the same time, and I would often confuse the two. You are openly drafting tiles to play onto your board, essentially, and so it's a drafting game where, in the setting of Darwin exploring the Galapagos Islands. So I think this looks like a pretty solid game. It's gotten great reviews so far, an overall ranking of 7.4 out of 10 on Board Game Geek, and so this one I think would be interesting to check out. I think it definitely would not feel similar to Darwin's Journey, but in a similar sense, you are collecting animals from the looks of it and building out your own tableau to create synergies for points, and so I think this would be an interesting game. And then, of course, finally is Sky Team. This game is also on Board Game Arena, and I've played this game extensively. If I were to choose a game for the victory and for the award this year, I think it would be Sky Team. And if you look at for example, Golden Geek Awards that were released about a month ago, Sky Team did win a lot of those rewards, and I think it deserves to win those. I think it is a very fun two-player game, cooperative game, where you simulate flying and landing a plane by rolling dice and keeping those dice a secret from your co-pilot, and you are assigning these values of dice onto a very modular board that is set up in increasing difficulty based off of the scenario. And I've been progressing through those scenarios, which are available on Board Game Arena, and so this game not only offers fun gameplay even from the base level of playing the game. I think the game itself is fun to play. It works really well on Board Game Arena because there's limited communication there anyway, and you get to... I love the modularity of this game, where you get to add different parts to the game to make it increasingly difficult, and it really spreads your dice thin, and where you get to place them, you have to really think ahead, and there is an element of trying to communicate what you may have left in your hand of the dice rolled to try to communicate, saying, hey, I played this dice first, I hope that you understand that means I don't have anything higher or lower, and therefore can try to communicate as well as you can. And so I think the game really nails a cooperative, limited communication genre type of the game in an excellent way. All scenarios, many different scenarios are being released for this on Board Game Arena as we speak. I feel like every couple of weeks or so they are announcing one or two different modules, which are based off of airports in the world to the game. And so I think it's well supported and established, and I think people would agree that this game is deserving of a win here as well. To just briefly look at some of the Spiel des Jahres recommended games that I feel like are honorable mentions to the nominations for the award itself. Some of these titles I do not know. I think that, for example, Post Nicht is more of a card game along the same line as like Six Nimmt, and Shots It If You Can looks like a party game. But some of these games are really notable, such as Harmonies. I've reviewed that recently. I think that one is a really good game, and perhaps its similarities to Cascadia, a past winner of the Spiel, probably precludes it from getting a nomination, unfortunately. Phantom Inc., I think, is a party game as well that includes some sort of limited communication and drawing aspect to, and deduction to the party level. And so that one actually is something that I would want to try. Trekking Through History, I've heard a lot of good things about as well. It is a open drafting and set collection game that is very much at the family weight, but it seems to be very engaging enough that even hardcore gamers have said good things about it. And finally, Trio is a 2021 card game that is on Board Game Arena, one that I have not played yet, and so I probably should if they are recommending this game as well. I'll give it a shot and see what it's like. It's got a 7.3 out of 10 on Board Game Geek, so not too bad. We move on to the Kennerspiel nominations. First, Daybreak. I've talked about Daybreak a bit on the channel and podcast. I think Daybreak is an excellent game from Matt Leacock in the cooperative line of games, similar in vein to Pandemic, but in this we are combating the negative effects of global change and climate change by trying to initiate different projects and motives to make the world a better place, and you do so using simultaneous action selection, and with the ever ramping difficulty and increasing difficulty that is seen in games like Pandemic. And so this one is really fun. It's on Board Game Arena. It probably doesn't play as well on Board Game Arena, especially turn-based, because this game requires a lot of simultaneous coordination to make sure that the cards in your hand and on your tableau are matching with the other player's cards as well, that you activate them in the right order to maximize the effects and benefits there. So Daybreak is really good. The Guild of Merchant Explorers by Matthew Dunstan and Brett J. Gilbert is something that I have talked about extensively on the podcast as well. I've really enjoyed even my one play of it. This is one of the games that I want to revisit again, and hoping that this game, for me, it was a little bit more expensive than I feel like what it should have been. The game itself is really fun. It's not terribly complex. It is more in that light to medium range of complexity, but the roll and write mechanism is really embellished and I guess taken to the next level, because the goal of the game is to try to explore a shared map, and to send an expedition out to different areas of that map, and doing so and exploring similar regions and kind of trying to explore as much as you can based off of the objectives that you have, gain new points, but then in subsequent rounds you gain powers that are very powerful, and they alter the game at such a level a drastic level that it makes it feel like you can do anything, but everyone else can do extremely fun things as well. And so it makes an excellent roll and write, which plays pretty quickly, feel very exciting. And so I love that game. And then finally, Ticket to Ride Legacy, Legends of the West. Obviously, I have played Ticket to Ride. I enjoy it for what it is. It's just a nice game to bring out with family and friends who aren't as invested in the hobby. It's a great entryway to seeing what modern board games are like. And the Legacy version, I've heard, has a lot of good things to offer, a lot of modularity and additional mechanisms that make the base game of Ticket to Ride shine even better. And so I'm glad that it is here. Because it is a Legacy game, I do wonder if it would obtain the nomination. I feel like Legacy games are great to play once, and perhaps this game does offer a more eternal or continuous mode to play after you have finished the Legacy campaign. But out of all of these games, I'm going to think that Daybreak is going to win. I think that one is a little bit newer. The Guild of Merchant Explorers is a couple years old. Daybreak, I think, is just it's got a great theme. I think that a lot of people can resonate with nowadays, and it's obviously it's from Matt Leacock, and so people really enjoy Pandemic and the cooperative system that it provides, and it's similar enough that I think people will latch on to Daybreak and really enjoy it. And then finally, we have the recommended 4 other titles for the Kennerspiel. And the first game that I have played here that is on Board Game Arena is For Shuffle, an excellent card game and tableau builder where you are drafting cards from a large and individualized deck to play, trees. You have different types of cards. You have trees that you can play onto your area, and then animals that you can play to the top, bottom, left, or right of those. And each of these cards are multi-use in the sense that each card may either have a top or bottom half with the animal, or a left or right portion of it as well. And so, a lot of these cards are repetitious within the deck, but they can offer a variety of ways to score points, and so it's a really fun card game that has gotten some support as well in the form of an expansion, which is available on Board Game Arena. So I do enjoy that game. It's a really good game. Next on this list is a game that I had not heard about, which is called Beer Pioneers. And from the look of it and the description on Board Game Geek, this looks like a worker placement and hand management game. I think it kind of looks like a combination of viticulture and distilled, where you are utilizing cards from your hand and taking worker placement actions to brew beer and to sell it for points. And even the game end trigger is the same as viticulture, where if one player reaches a certain victory point mark, that signals the end of the game. But it's got that push your luck simulation, or at least a mechanism, that is found in games like Distilled, where you are brewing beer. And I guess as it is in real life, I'm not a drinker, but I feel like you can... There's a little bit of chance involved in brewing beer, and sometimes it works out where you create a good product, and sometimes it doesn't. And so I would be really interested in checking this game out. It's weighted at a 3.35 out of 5. So yeah, this one looks pretty interesting. And it was released in 2023, so it's a fairly new game. 7.8 out of 10 as well. So there might be something here that maybe we have, or I have missed in the last year. Next is Botanicus. This is a 2024 game, rated 8.2 out of 10. And its mechanisms, because I don't know about this game, its mechanisms listed on Board Game Geek are action drafting, grid coverage, and grid movement with a modular board. So it looks like it is a light to medium weight style game as well, that I honestly haven't heard much about recently. And so it has been receiving good praise according to those who have rated it. There's about almost 200 ratings on it as well, so I'd be interested in checking this one out. And then finally, the last game on this list is Ritual. This is a 2 to 6 player game, weighted pretty lightly at a 1.67, released in 2022, that has an element of deduction and memory as well as real-time play. And so, yeah, so those are a couple of games that I haven't heard about, but obviously they have some merits to it to be nominated, or at least recommended for the Spiel des Jahres and Kennerspiel. And so I'll have to look into some of these games that I haven't heard about and maybe give them a try and perhaps if you have any input as well on some of these games that you might have played as well, I'd love to hear your thoughts, and so you can do so in the comments down below. But those are some quick thoughts on the Spiel games here that are nominated. So yeah, there you go. And hopefully I can get back to some more regular content. If you have been following, I've been pretty busy with vacationing and things like that, and enjoying some time with the family before I head back to work. And so anyway, thank you for listening and consulting with me today, and hope that you schedule an appointment with your board gaming doctor real soon. Take care.